Hello everybody and welcome to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George. We are back. I have a brand new movie review and today I'm going to be talking about Fast X, which is now out in cinemas worldwide. The 10th film in the main series of the Fast and Furious films, the 11th if you're going to include Hobbs and Shaw, the spin-off. And they're back at cinemas, and this was meant to be part one of a two-part finale. But is it going to be part one of a three-part finale? I'm going to bring that up a little bit later. But as always, this film is out. We want to hear from you, so please do comment below with your thoughts on Fast X, Fast 10, fasten your seatbelts, whatever you want to call it, whatever people are calling it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. As I said, the film is out now. People have been able to see it. And if you're new to the channel, if you want to know what else is coming up, there's a lot of things coming up. We've been on a break. It's been very quiet. We know that. But there's a lot of things in the pipeline. So go find us on our social medias, Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy, with a link to Letterboxd, everything in that description below. But getting back to the Fast and Furious films, I'm going to give a bit of background. So I was meant to be at the screening on Tuesday, but due to train issues, I could not get to the early screening. So I was going to go on Friday, irregardless, with one of my sisters. And I went last night to watch this film at the IMAX. The Fast and Furious films have a very special place in my heart. They are the epitome of insane, over-the-top action cinema. Growing up with them, they started off as street racing films, as many people will say, and they evolved into space, bombs, nukes, submarines. Whatever they've done, it all began robbing DVD players, which is hilarious. And seeing how this franchise has grown, seeing the cast that keeps coming in, seeing how seriously one of the actors takes this project, even the behind-the-scenes carnage with the director walking out in the first week of filming, getting a replacement and having to rewrite the final act in 5 days. Fair play for them for doing that. Louis Leterrier directing this one. I had an absolute blast of this film. And that's no surprise. Listen, we're 11 films in. If you're on board with the first 10 and it's this one that turns you against it, I'd be surprised. But for me at least, I know what I'm going to get. I know how ridiculous it is. I know it's over the top. I know it's stupid. I know it defies the laws of physics and gravity and all that sort of stuff. But it's entertainment. It's what you want to go to the cinema to see. It's the big screen experience. It's loud. It's got action set pieces. It makes you laugh. Now, the making you laugh part's where the real thing kicks in. Are you in on the joke of the films? Do you think this is cutting edge action? Do you think this is the peak of action cinema? Because I know some people that do, and that's what scares me. But for me, I'm very much in the know, laughing a lot throughout the screening. And ultimately, that's what I want to go to the cinema. I want to go to the cinema to enjoy myself, to have an experience, to watch something I know is so ridiculous, it's never going to happen. And these films deliver every single time, honestly. It's incredible how insane this one goes. And talking about this one, we're going to get into the standout in a couple of moments, but I think this is one of the best Fast films. And I'm not saying because I've seen it once and it's fresh in my head. There's a sort of pinnacle chart for me. You have Fast 5, which is never going to be beaten. And also genius of them to tie this into Fast 5 a lot, actually. I will give them credit for that. But Fast 5, Fast 7 are the top two by a country mile. Then you've got, to me, Fast 6 just after. Maybe there's a bit of bias with it being based in London and stuff like that. And The Rock, to me, at his peak. The Rock's back, of course. This one, I don't know what it is about it. It's right up there. I can't... Are they all in on the joke? The humongous titles of like... You think the Russo brothers are bad with Marvel when they put a new city. This put it to shame because it was never on screen long enough. It's got title jobs like Antarctica, Portugal, Rio de Janeiro. It is incredible how ridiculous this gets. And I think that's so much of the enjoyment with these films. But the reason this film, to me, is tailing above the others, and this is where the Fast 5 and 7 dynamic is going to probably come into this, it is who they bring in to be part of, not family yet, I don't think this one ever will be family. The introduction of Jason Momoa to Fast and Furious is without doubt, one of the greatest things this series has ever done. Now, Statham in 7 was amazing. The amazing credit sequence of 6, setting that all up for him to be the big bad. It's all tying up to him. It's been in the pipeline for a while. Going back to Fast 5 to credit him being the son of the person they killed, being out of frame in a few shots from the original film, is remarkable. Then you go to Fast 5, right? You get The Rock. The Rock, to me, saved this franchise. It was him bringing into it. It was perfect for him. He was perfect for them. It was a match made in heaven. And that's why the beef between them is so ridiculous. And I'm glad, I hope that it's over. But Momoa in this, now I thought it'd be fun. I was looking forward to him. he seems, you get people casting these films and they just click. It's perfect casting. Momoa is probably one of the best ones they've done. And the funniest thing about watching it is not only is he having the time of his life, I think this could be his best role. And that's maybe blasphemy to Duncan from Dune, obviously a very different character. But watching Momoa in this, it genuinely feels like the actor is having the time of his life. And that shows on screen. And I kept thinking about the Joker, not the Heath Ledger one in terms of quality, but just the way he is in this film. It's like if someone said to Jason Momoa, hey, be yourself, but be the Joker. That's what his character becomes, and I am so in on it. He's completely self-aware, and I think that's what makes this film so much more exciting. If you've seen, of course, the nail painting scene, which is going to be a highlight with his hair. But I just thought, there's been a few flatter entries of the last few. Charlize Theron I like in this, but even in like wrestling terms, putting someone over, they have him take out her to begin with, to assume her empire. Everything about this clicked moving forward for what this franchise needs to be, for what this film wants to be, and I just genuinely cannot believe they've been able to do this. Do this 11 films in, and they are somehow getting better. Obviously, it's better than the last couple, but I thought, it's the finale, it's going to be lukewarm, it's going to be trying to be too emotional. When it's trying to be emotional, it's the Vin Diesel close-ups that make it what it is. And again, I just can't take my mind away from the fact that this series, what it began as all those years ago, what it has become now, I just can't take it seriously. And no one really should. And that's why they work. That's why they're popular. That's why people flock to go and see them. It's a really busy screening. A lot of people stayed for the credit scene. A lot of people obviously knew what that credit scene was going to be. But I just can't escape the fact of what this film has gone on to become. And if I try and break that down ever so slightly, so I spoke about Momoa, he's the MVP, the standout. The amount of time as family. If you're going to have a drinking game, you're going to now drop the word family, because bringing in Rita Moreno to play the great-grandparent of Dom's kid. Rita Moreno, of course, is in the West Side Story, Oscar-winning actress. That casting, it worked. It was funny, and I couldn't take it serious. It's like Helen Mirren being in these films. So who else do you bring in to be part of family? Rita Moreno, okay, makes sense. Helen Mirren, yeah, makes sense. I don't know what the pull is. I don't know if they're having the time in life filming this. It genuinely feels like they probably do. They do seem quite close. Like when you see them at chemistry, you see them at events. I just can't wrap my head around how these films get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just sat there last night thinking, I'd love to do a video on actors who should be in this series, because I genuinely don't think they ever get it wrong. And then people might say one or two flat castings or one, or which character that died in the previous film is going to come back to life this time. There's a character in this film that has maybe died who probably will come back in the next film. I'd be furious if they don't, no pun intended. But it's just one of them where I can't contain the ridiculousness and why it works. But I think if these films were trying to be serious, or at least presented as being serious, or have crafted like it was serious, like it was Mission Impossible, that Mission Impossible trailer dropping before this, it's like two different worlds coming together. And obviously you had the photos of Vin Diesel and Tom Cruise at the Grand Prix, which was hilarious. Everyone knew he was probably trying to recruit him to be part of his new family, but you just can't knock these films for what they do. And with the cliffhanger ending, it does leave me wanting more. We know we're going to get more. We're going to get one film or two films. That's the big question. But if they've got Momoa sitting in for a villain, I can easily see them doing two more. I think people will be wanting to see more. I know that audiences are enjoying this as they do. Critics are probably having the same opinion they always do of films like this. But for me, at least, as a viewer, it absolutely worked. It knocked out the park. I'm going to talk about some of the characters, because there's a whole ensemble in this. There's some bonkers cameos. You all know the one, if you've seen it, the London one. But John Cena returning. One of the great things about Fast 9, how ridiculous. He had a brother all this time, never said a single word. Whole subplot. John Cena works. Love him. Then you've got some weirder subplots where we get Han coming back, Jason Statham. I like that sort of stuff. And again, it's that joke of what started off as villains. Han, who died on screen in 2006 in Tokyo Drift, who then came out as Jason Statham that killed him, and then came out that he never died, it was all part of the plan. It's so stupid. We get them face to face, and it just makes for just entertainment. And that's kind of with it. I'm not going to sit here talk about character arcs, cliches, because you're not going to get that with the Fast films. You might try it. You can point this direction thinking, what are they going to do to talk about their family, to try and develop them more? But ultimately, the answer is Vin Diesel needs to save his family. That's the way it always is. Family, they're in on the joke now. They must be. I don't know if Vin Diesel is, but watching these films, they strip everything away from these characters. I'll give this film a lot of credit. Is over the years, the Fast team or the family. Not only have got rich, they've got the best tech, they've got the best everything. Credit to the director and the team on this. They try and strip a lot of that away, so they're in peril. And it's probably the first time watching these films in a long time I felt like they're in peril. Saying that if anyone dies, they'll come back. But there was just something about this one where I at least thought they were trying to do a bit more, and I didn't mind Fast 9. Fast 9 was the most obvious. It was the most where they were reading the audience, going to space, the thing they joke about. That was this weird peak where it feels like, not it's getting serious now, but it feels like, okay, there's an end goal in mind. And I like the fact that this film is now working towards that, and I don't think they've been able to do that in other ones. So to me, that's a massive credit from them for at least attempting that and going in for that. But aside from that, I can't sit here and talk about cinematography, action set pieces, CGI. It's the Fast and Furious films. They destroy things, they blow up cities, they want to bomb the Vatican in this. It's entertaining. It's what you want to see from the cinema. And, I'm not going to be here doing a big in-depth review on that. The music, I can't even talk about the music too much. I would say the soundtrack isn't as good as a few of the other films, the music they play. But am I watching Fast and Furious for the soundtrack? No. To the car fans, is there street racing? Yes, kind of, to a point. And within scenes such as that, it does make it, not bringing it back to its roots, but there's a very interesting, very funny scene where they essentially explain the 11 films in about 2 minutes, and it is just comedy perfection. When the film's online, people will be sharing that scene all over the internet because it was just so funny how aware they are, how this team have been built up into what they are, and I'm in on the joke, I'm in with the crowd, I'm entertained by these films. Cinephiles are probably screaming, crying, angry that people like these, but listen, everyone's going to have guilty pleasures, but this isn't even a guilty pleasure for me. This is, I'm going to sit here, I'm going to go to the cinema, I'm going to go watch them on release day, I'll continue to do that until they stop, and I'm fully in on the next one. The cliffhanger ending, the credit scene, I am in, I'm excited for what comes next, I'm curious for what comes next, because this wasn't like a normal cliffhanger, this was like pulp 60s Batman thriller that you need to come back tomorrow to see how they escape the scenario. I loved that. We've not really had that, and films don't do that as much these days. So listen, for me, full credit involved. Am I going to recommend this film? It's hard to recommend a film when you're 11 in. If you've seen the first 10 and enjoy the first 10, I probably don't need to recommend it to you. You're probably going to go see it. But for me at least, I think it's been fairly, not necessarily quiet with films recently, but we're heading into a really busy summer blockbuster season. Is this the best film out? No. Is this going to be the best one of the summer? Absolutely not. Going to be entertained by this film? Yes. It's one of the films that there's just enjoyment watching it, and I've always had that enjoyment with these. So that's going to be rounding out there. As I said, I do recommend it only if you're in on the joke, only if you're in with these films, to go see it at the cinema. As I said, there's a lot of other things coming out down the line. We've got a lot of stuff happening on this channel, so I can't stay here too long. I've got another video to record a little bit later because our Mission Impossible retrospective starts very soon. We are planning for that. I've mentioned Mission Impossible a few times today. There's a lot happening on the channel. More details can be found in our social medias. They are all in the link in the description below. And I want to hear your thoughts on Fast 10 as well. So thank you all for watching. Thank you for your patience. We've not had many uploads recently. There's been a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes. There's a lot of things happening at home as well. So I can't always be around for videos. But it's blockbuster season. It's getting busier and I cannot wait to see what comes next. But in the meantime, it's Fast and Furious to begin with. What a way to kickstart summer blockbuster season, because it is the epitome of blockbuster season. Take care. Thanks for watching.